Depending on your preferences, it's either plane or train or car or any other means of transport. But the question is, do we really need that much travel today? And the question arises because just last week, I'm now recording this during the weekend. I'm going back on travel on Sunday. But last week, I delivered 4 full-day workshops, 4 days of full workshops, and I did it from my desk completely online. I had a special qualification as a trainer for these online workshops so they don't become boring and don't become a PowerPoint slideshow, what of course they should never be. However, the question is, when should we actually meet and when should we not meet? Because probably there's a more efficient, effective, or simply a better way to meet. Because there are a couple of issues which I see and which even employees see right now when it comes to travel, because often it is handled very differently depending from not department to department, but even from person to person in the same department on the same project. Some people travel and some work from home, and it seems to be rather arbitrary that they can decide by themselves. And now, after having done so for a while and the pandemic now slowly coming to an end, then people see that certain issues arise which now get addressed, and so far leaders often don't have a great answer to them. So what are the issues? Some people travel due to just being on the road for traveling. They just love it. Also, it has a big advantage, especially when the project is not running too well. You don't have to sit in a meeting room. You don't have to sit with people you probably do not like that much. And you don't have to explain face to face why it is not going so well. You're just traveling. Of course, they can get in touch with you. Back in the days, that was not possible. So you had the chance to just take yourself out of the project and say, sorry, on the road for the client. That is not possible anymore today. However, some people try to get away and make more and more moves on the road just to not be in the office. And when you look at the reasons for that, some people more or less openly say they are very keen on having their bonus miles, for example, to keep their flight and airline status or their bonus points with a certain train company. And that is, of course, not the goal of the organization. When I still see, and this unfortunately still exists, when I still see on Instagram that people who are in business take pictures from the business lounge or take selfies from the senator lounge, say, oh, my senator status gives me the opportunity to have a coffee early in the morning. When you need so much external validation, besides the fact that there's strong scientific evidence that external validation is never a solution to anything and never makes you happy and also doesn't make you a better leader, it also raises the questions, what kind of leaders do you have who give this example? Status and ego seem to lead the discussion heavily. Not even talking about, of course, environmental aspects, especially when I see, for example, that within one country, I see people having high-level airline status, although they're only flying within England. They're flying from London to Manchester, from Manchester to Leeds, from Leeds to London. Surprise and big news here, there's a more efficient way probably to travel, especially when it comes to environmental aspects and the sustainability agenda that, oh, wait, the board signed and you all agreed to follow it. So how is it possible that still leaders, and especially senior executives, can put their status and their ego forward? And of course, now people address the issue and say, why do they do that? Probably because they want to have their vacation paid on bonus miles and the hotel paid on bonus points, or probably free vacation. I can emotionally understand that. However, you're opening another conflict in the organization. Not even mentioning here that aspects, for example, cost, money, and time, especially time efficiency. Let's face it, when you are on a plane, especially on short-haul flights, you can hardly be productive in anything because the time you have to sit down, can't have your laptop or your tablet anywhere, then you are not really working productively. And the time and security checks and queuing, etc., it's not really the best way how to use your time, especially when you travel on a short distance. And of course, when you have a sustainability agenda in your organization and your people still fly without any need, then of course you lose credibility for your people. But one main issue is a different one. There are quite a number of organizations where still the digital option is considered to be the second class option. It's the option we choose when there's no other option available. And there are quite random reasons why people do that. They often say, well, people crave to meet. Do they? Some do, I agree. And we had expos and fairs recently again in Europe, and some people were very happy that we could meet again. for a short period of time. However, I see some meetings happening over and over again. So now we have to see how to do it better. Step number one, you need a very clear guideline. And this travel guideline applies to absolutely anyone. And step number two, there must be reasoning within the travel guideline. So which means of travel is the preferred one? Which one should be used when one is not available? Are there any exceptions? Why are these exceptions there? Etc., etc., etc. For short-term travel, for short-haul flights, for long-haul flights, where do you travel? Where do you stay? What kind of hotels, etc. Quite a number of organizations have a travel guideline, but still there are quite random aspects in these guidelines where people can just arbitrarily choose based on their position. And then, of course, they frustrate other people who do not have this option. And of course, you have to see, do you want to take care of the environment? Do you want to have a sustainability agenda? Do you want to contribute to the sustainability goal? Because when you decide we are all flying, let's face it, when you fly, especially in smaller countries, when you fly within one country and there is another connection available, then you have to put a significant amount of money into the carbon offset. And no, that's not included in your taxes. Please don't start with that chumbawamba. However, it is not only about facts and numbers. There's a significant difference, and I give you an example. A couple of weeks ago, I had a seminar and a workshop, and the workshop ended at 4 p.m., and then I traveled back to Zurich. And for me, it's not a problem. When I'm in Hamburg, I take the last train back to Zurich. I arrive back midnight. I live on my own. Not a problem. I go to bed happily, or when it's a Friday, I probably go out. It's a massive difference when you have, for example, family. You might be living with someone. So your partner, when you arrive at midnight, will be in bed already and sleeping. It might also affect your children. The difference between taking the, for example, 5:30 p.m. flight, being home at 7 or 7:30, or being back at midnight, the difference of these couple of hours, and no question, it's better for the environment when you take the train. However, you don't see your partner, you don't talk, you don't see your children, you don't talk, there are no hugs, there's no exchange of experiences, how was your week, what happened at school, etc. And you might easily feel disconnected. So please always see the personal situation of people. And of course, when some people say, hey, I need 8 hours of sleep, and when I come back at midnight, I don't have a weekend because I'm just shattered, then please also consider that as well. I can sleep on a train. I don't need much sleep anyway. I normally sleep 5 to 6 hours. That's something I have in common with Angela Merkel. I just recently saw it on TV that she also always slept 5 to 6 hours. So we have that in common. Not saying that I'm anywhere close to Angela Merkel, especially not with life achievements. However, there are more aspects than just numbers. And the personal aspect of business gets more and more into the center of attention. You know that from recruiting. When people don't feel well working for you, they leave. And when it's only the travel guideline that annoys them, but they have a better offer on the table, they will take that offer. So suddenly it's not only complicated, it's complex. There are different aspects that are beyond your control where you have to face a situation and you have to solve the situation, how to find the best solution. And I can tell you the controlling department is helpful on that matter, but it's not the only department you have to talk to. For example, the department where the people are working or the HR, you know the people you have to talk to. I know it's effort, but let's face it, if you do not do it, it will catch up with you very quickly in every single negative way possible. Also, you have to see, and I'm a big fan of the online world, but I'm fully aware also there is strong scientific evidence for that. Not everything is possible online, especially when it comes to very important decisions or sensitive data that is handed over or certain announcements where you want to be very sure that this is not going to leave the room. Especially senior executives are very aware that everything on a digital channel, let's say Zoom or Teams or WebEx or whatever you use, everything can be recorded. And you can record it without that anyone else sees that you record the session, and then you can give it away. It can be leaked to other people. Suddenly people know something they shouldn't know, and then you face severe issues. And that's why some people are a bit hesitant when it comes to very important meetings to do it online, and especially senior executives, because they have seen, for example, the case where the chairman from KPMG had to step down. That town hall meeting was leaked. It was an internal town hall meeting. Someone recorded it, put it on YouTube anonymously, and then it went from there. 3 days later, the chairman lost their job. They lost their job, by the way, rightfully so. However, it's a classical example of something was handed internally and suddenly it appeared in public. Of course, people often look at efficiency and effectivity. So what's the best use of means for efficiency and what can I really achieve in which setting with effectivity? However, there is one rule of thumb which you should apply. The more critical it is, the more personal the meeting has to be. And I give you a very practical real-world example. Let's say, and just look back at your own history of employment. Let's just say something happened and what happened really annoyed you. Maybe a decision by senior management, and you say, how could they ever get to that conclusion? And you're really angry. Back in the days before the pandemic, you went back to your department, back to the office and said, who are these people? Who do they think they are? How can they get to these conclusions and make these decisions? And then you are very angry, talk to your colleagues, and together you calm each other down because it's good to talk about it. However, what do we have right now? At the moment, we have a situation where when someone is at home, and especially when they live at home, they get the decision, they sit in the meeting room on Zoom, Teams, whatever it is, WebEx, GoToMeeting, any tool you use, and then you get the decision, you are extremely angry, and then the meeting ends, and what happens is silence. You sit there with your emotions, your feelings, your thoughts on your own, in worst case, when you live on your own, and that always goes wrong because now what happens is people start to overthink, and overthinking, Stanford University especially, and also UC Berkeley made countless studies on that. In 95% of all cases, overthinking goes wrong. And please refrain now from giving me the motivational speaker moment or one of these pep talks. Oh, you have to see the opportunity in crisis, blah, blah, blah. Because we are not any different. I give you a very simple example again. Let's say I'm your boss. And I tell you on a Friday at 4 p.m., you know what? We have to talk on Monday. Could you please come to my office? Monday, 8 a.m. Thank you. Have a nice weekend. So now you're sitting there and you have the whole weekend to think about what might this meeting be about. And most likely, you do not come to the conclusion that you say, it's a promotion and maybe a salary raise. That's not what you conclude in most cases. So the more critical it is, the more personal it has to be. And no matter which tool you use, by the way, when you do it in a digital manner, when you do it online, every tool has to be properly explained and professionally trained because people do not ask questions. They are all a bit embarrassed that they don't know all the details about the tool, but they know it's sort of expected now after 2 years in the pandemic. So they are just silent, although they don't really know how to use these tools properly. No matter if it's Teams, Zoom, GoToMeeting, Adobe Connect, there are countless tools on the market. And if it's only a half-day workshop, hire a professional to make this tool handy for you. Someone needs to explain to you properly how this works. When the whole situation with the pandemic happened, I already had a specialized qualification as a trainer to deliver workshops online, and that's why they work. I didn't sit in front of an online tool and say, hey, here's my PowerPoint. Let's just talk through that because you know how it goes. At the end, you will say, this meeting could have been an email because someone was reading out slides to me. Tools have to be professionally trained. It's a very cheap, very low investment, and the return on invest is there immediately. Just be sure that you hire a professional who's professionally qualified and has the experience to explain it to you. Don't hire someone you just know or someone who says, oh, you know, I have a child and they do a lot of online stuff. They're a Twitch streamer. Maybe they can explain it to you and they do it for free because that is not going to help you, your people, or your organization in any way. And that's how to find the right balance between what to do online and what to do on site. Because looking at the Gallup study, when we look at what do people want, 54%, I'm going to round it up to make it a bit easier, a bit more handy. About 60% say hybrid is what they want. You have about 10% who want to return to the office in an on-site culture, and about 1/3 say we prefer remote only. So 90% say either remote only or hybrid, while hybrid is the most chosen solution. And it's very important now that you adopt your organization exactly according to the needs of your people, but also to find the right balance and maybe look at the travel behavior in your organization to find the right balance for your organization, your people, the business life, but also their private life matters, and it mattered more than ever before. Of course, there's more available about this. Go to expert.nb-networks.com, put your email address in there once per week. Every Wednesday morning, you receive an email where there's free access to all the resources which I published in the week before, only via this email. It's 100% content at free guarantee. And of course, when you now say, hey, can I actually ask you a question? Yes, of course you do. Of course. Just drop me an email, nb@nb-networks.com, and we take it from there. If, of course, you want to talk about, hey, we need someone for training, speaking, coaching, consulting, mentoring, or maybe a bit more long-term project interim management, or when you say, hey, we have an event going on, could you host that? Could you be the MC, the moderator? Yes, of course I can, but we can also just have a chat, virtual coffee, however you want to call it. Just drop me an email, nb@nb-networks.com. Looking forward to talking to you. And of course, now the most important aspect is apply what you heard in this podcast, because only when you apply what you heard here, you will see the change in your organization that you want to see. And especially when it comes to business travel, the on-site and the online world, decisions have to be made. I wish you all the best applying this in your organization. And for this week, there's only one thing left to say for me. Thank you very much for your time.